Hey, welcome to Film Fanatics. My name is Dan.
My name is Justin.
And I'm Joe.
This week we meet some new arrivals with Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner. Naomi Watts is a shut-in. Daniel Radcliffe goes undercover in Imperium. And Logan Lerman is a bit indignant. First, though, we have Arrival, big movie of the week. Joe, like that?
What do you mean? How can you... why would you think...
No, my
Please
intro.
do enlighten us, Joe.
Oh, no, I like the puns in all your synopses. You managed to get one in every single movie.
I try.
Well, yeah, basically, aliens come. They arrive, you could say, and they have appeared in different points in the world in these strange pods, which are their spaceships, apparently, but we don't know what they're saying because they're completely different beings with a completely different language. So, what are they going to do? They're going to send in Amy Adams, who's a lingual expert, and Jeremy Renner, a scientist, to be the first people to, at least for America, from one perspective, to try to reach out and create some bridge of understanding, because the main theme of this movie, one of them, is communication, how important and complicated it is. And, I thought it was quite excellent, actually.
Oh, wow.
As far as science fiction goes, I think it's kind of cool how it sort of balances the general ideas that you would see in like a classic 1950s sci-fi movie like The Day the Earth Stood Still, but still be something so cerebral and different. And I think that the movie manages to balance some really heartfelt, heart-wrenching moments. Definitely some great performances, particularly from Adams, who I just think just steals the show. And also dealing with some really high-concept stuff that, admittedly, towards the end of the movie might get a little difficult to understand. But at the very least, this is a sci-fi movie that will make you think and will make you feel. And I have to say that any movie that creates an atmosphere which is both heartfelt and tense, but also, honestly, aliens that truly feel alien, is something that few movies can truly do. And I think that speaks to this as an excellent movie that is definitely one of the most interesting films you'll see this year.
Well, I agree with a lot of what you said. My review, though, has an asterisk to it.
It sucks!
Because I need to watch it again.
Okay.
Because I was forced to watch it out of order.
What?
Because, as I was telling you, Joe, off the air, I got my car inspected today.
Okay.
So I had to see this movie today because we were doing the show tonight. But the car inspection went a bit longer than I would have liked. So I missed like the first half hour of the movie. So then I stayed and watched the next show. So I wasn't as confused as I thought I would be with a movie like this. I got it. But for context purposes, I would like to obviously see it again in its full glory.
A good idea.
But like I said, I wasn't nearly as confused as I feared I would be knowing the concept of the movie. It's not like, oh, I missed a half hour of Boo Medea Halloween. What's happening? I caught on pretty quickly, but it was interesting to see sort of the build up to Adams getting the job and to learn why she has the job. She is this linguist expert, like you said. There were a few things I didn't like about it. I don't know. It's tough to talk about this movie without spoilers.
There's kind of a big twist.
But yes, there is a big twist. One of the things I thought was like super obvious, and one thing I just don't know how well executed it was.
Okay.
So with that in mind, though, the performance from Adams is great. She should be up for another Oscar here.
Yeah, definitely.
She's going to win one eventually. Maybe it's for this. Renner was good, you know. But she definitely steals the show. Whittaker seemed a little off to me, actually.
Well, he's doing his difficulty speaking thing.
Yes.
When I first met him, like, what are you saying?
Yes.
Well, he's doing that, but he's also going with the, army dialectic.
Yes.
Which is really, really strange. Especially for Whittaker. But
well, at least it's not like a really thick southern accent where you couldn't understand anything. But when he first shows up, I'm like, oh, please. It's not going to be like this the whole movie. And thankfully it wasn't. But that first scene, I'm like, he's asking Adams for a job, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't.
It's very confusing.
So, yes.
But God, why did he do that? I don't know.
But the score is incredible. The same gentleman worked with the same director in Sicario. That score was excellent. This one is too. Visually, it's very good.
Yeah.
And I do like that it's a very cerebral movie. It did remind me, actually, of The Day the Earth Stood Still, in the arrival of the no pun intended, of the pods.
No, it's very similar. It's very different, but the same
is.
idea is there.
Yeah, and I liked the look of the creatures. Mm-hmm. Certainly not your typical aliens, and I liked the concept of communication being at the crux of everything. So I think there's a lot to like. I think there's definitely a few things I didn't like about it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Justin, what'd you think? You saw it in order, I assume.
Yes, I did in fact see it in order.
Yes,
but
recommend seeing this one in order.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely don't come in halfway in, but well, third of the way in. Excuse me. So when this started getting a lot of buzz, I was very curious about it, and obviously since director Denis Villeneuve, who we've been covering for quite some time since we started the show, started with Prisoners, ended up with
Enemy,
lest we forget. That very, very surreal movie.
And Sicario.
And then eventually Sicario. This would be number 4. And I guess next year, Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah. Well, if there's a guy to do a really weird sci-fi, he's the one.
I mean, I was thinking that, but then I was also thinking at the exact same time, this guy did Prisoners, which is very, very, very far from sci-fi. So
he also did Enemy, which is pretty weird and
it's surreal, but it's not sci-fi surreal. So I was curious to see.
a talented person could do many things.
Yeah.
They can. And there are also very many talented people who can fail miserably at many things. I give you Robert Zemeckis and What Lies Beneath. But but no, I was very pleasantly surprised with this one. I think one of the big benefits of this is A, Adams is an incredibly talented actress, and B, it's remarkably well written. It starts off with flashbacks, and I was originally thinking, like, okay, where's this going? And while I admit there are probably better ways it could be executed, they play it smartly. I think they implement it
sometimes
here and there accordingly. They justify it later on. There's a couple clever twists with it that I really appreciated.
Well, now I do think that they were good in and of themselves, and I think they mostly worked. But what they actually represent in terms of the twist of the movie and how well it works when you think back on it, it might be a little confusing, I think, at first.
I think it's supposed to be, but that's...
it's definitely...
Oh, yeah, I agree.
By the end of the movie, you're supposed to look at things very differently because that's how the aliens view things. So they view things in a different way, so it's understandable. I mean, that's why I can
one of my major criticisms is a part of that is very if A, then B, and there's no real justification for B. But I mean, if you can take it at face value in lieu of everything else, it's acceptable. And given that it has, I would argue, quite possibly one of the best and easily most heart-wrenching first 15 minutes of anything we've covered in 2016, I was definitely on board.
Yeah, Dan, if you watching it from the beginning, like that opening scene, was even as a short film was pretty tragic. And I was like, it was pretty. From the moment that occurred, I was like, wow, like I was up there with Up for me as like just tragic things. I was very affected by that, and I was haunted by it the rest of the movie, like Adam's character was, which works. That's why the flashbacks worked for me, and how she's correlating that with what's going on now. I thought some of the flashbacks with her daughter. I think a lot of it did work pretty well.
Okay.
From an emotional standpoint, at least.
But I'd say overall for me, where I kind of put this is some sort of strange hybrid between Contact from way back when with Jodie Foster, as we covered earlier this year.
Yeah. Definitely some of that.
Dare I say it hesitantly, but Interstellar. And somehow managing to transcend the major flaws of both in that regard. I thought it was a really thought-provoking, cleverly put-together sci-fi piece. Not exactly perfect, but very glad that it's out in 2016. Absolutely worth looking into.
Yeah. I think it'll be probably up for some things. Certainly the same visual and sound categories that Interstellar was.
Yeah. That too.
If not, maybe an Adams nod.
Here's hoping.
I do like this director, though. I mean,
he's very good.
Can't pronounce his last name, but
Villeneuve or something.
Justin always says it, but I mean, I think other than Enemy, which I did sort of come around on
eventually,
a couple weeks later, but Prisoners, Sicario, right out of the gate were A movies for me.
Great.
This one is not quite to that level, but again, my review comes with an asterisk. So, Joe, what is your grade for Arrival?
Well, I think it's one of the best movies of the year. I leave it with an A.
Okay, it's a B+ for me.
A-.
All right. Up next, we have Shut In. And Joe missed out on
one of the greatest
one
movies.
of the greats.
I know you're all sorts of devastated,
yeah.
Joe, but
hey,
hang in there, okay?
In my defense, I was trying to see it. I just didn't have the time.
Yeah, no, that's fine. This is a thriller in which Naomi Watts plays child psychologist Mary Portman, who is tending to her paralyzed stepson following a car accident that took the life of her husband. Already closed off from the world, a bad storm makes them even more shut in, and a stranger may be inside her home trying to cause them harm. Jacob Tremblay co-stars as one of Mary's young clients. This movie, I'll just say it, it's the worst movie of the year by leaps and bounds. Like, I was trying to think, I know, you have to now.
Now I want to see it.
I was trying to think, like, okay, The Darkness, like over my F's of the year.
I love The Darkness.
Like, The Darkness had that gag with Jesus. Jack Reacher was just bland.
The cracker with no salt.
Some of the ones we didn't cover on the show, Meet the Blacks made me laugh once. But this movie is so stupid. I can't even.
It's staggering.
It's staggering.
But what about Naomi? She's my girl.
No.
Not doing
She's had a real rocky run lately.
Yeah.
She was okay as the Russian whore in St. Vincent. But then what was the one she just did recently that we were like...
Oh, Demolition?
Yeah, Demolition.
You guys keep forgetting she was in Birdman.
Yes, she was.
Yes,
but that was,
like
a while ago
20
at this
minutes,
point.
but yes.
It still counts.
I guess that was after St. Vincent, technically. But it's got the worst and most illogical twist of the year.
Far and away.
Good movie. There's plot holes all over the place, completely unexplained things.
Wow.
Nobody ever shuts a door in this movie.
What?
Did you ever notice that, Justin?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
She first of all, it's a snowstorm. She will go outside of her house, never close the door. Leave that door wide open. Not Melina. Who's the Oliver Platt?
Yes.
Also co-stars as one of her friends and I guess sort of a coworker. He gets in a car accident in the film, stumbles out of the car, leaves the car door open. Like, nobody understands the concept.
But if he's been in an accident, is he going to want to shut the car door necessarily?
Once he leaves in a snowstorm, I don't think he wants to get snow in his car.
Was the car still working?
Not really, no.
That doesn't matter if it's open or not.
I don't know. I guess not.
See? There you go.
All right. The point is, there's a shared theme in this movie of never shutting a door.
Yes.
The performance from the son is terrible.
Oh my god,
it's
painful.
Just, like, I haven't had that many Fs this year, maybe 5, but like
F-.
all of them have at least something I could say, well, all right, this is nothing. I can't think of a good thing to remotely say. Justin?
Wow.
Well, I mean, I really can't argue with it, Dan. I went into this one like looking up all the times, getting ready to sort of psych myself up for the day. And fortunately, this was part of a double bill for me. I jumped from this one to Arrival later on.
Oh,
so we went from horrible to pretty good. And I saw it on Rotten Tomatoes, 0%, and I'm like, is it really that bad? Yes, it is, and then some.
It's one of the few I can say deserves a 0.
It's just so mind-bogglingly stupid. I'm amazed someone put money into this. And got the talent that they did. Naomi Watts, Oliver Platt, obviously Jacob Tremblay only really has room to his credit now, but come on, don't pour it.
And when was it filmed? It could have been filmed before Room. We don't know.
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not another 1,000-word scenario, but you never know.
But see, I don't think that deserved a 0. It wasn't great, but I give it a C-. I mean, it was like okay.
Oh, no, I was just in reference to shelf movies, but...
Oh, okay. I thought you meant in terms of the 0%.
No.
Because that's the last major release I can think of that had a 0% and kept it.
But even on the same whole 0% thing, I was thinking, okay, this is a 90-minute movie, so hopefully, if nothing else, I can say at least it was short. I felt like I was in the theater watching this piece of garbage for years. I must have checked my watch at least 20 times in that 90-minute time span.
I don't know if it goes that slowly, because every couple minutes you're thinking, like, wait, what just happened? Like,
yes.
It definitely kept my interest, because every time something dumb happened, I just couldn't believe it was dumber than the last thing.
Well, there's that,
So I played that game. Joe, you gotta see it.
I really
think
want
that's
to
the-
now, though.
I think that's the only way I managed to survive this movie because I felt
right.
like I was about to pass out.
Well, remember, this is the most important question. Now I have to see this movie before the year's over.
I know you
Now,
do.
now I will.
Do you, Joe? Do you really? No, I'm kidding.
Can I turn it into a guilty pleasure?
I doubt it.
I don't even
I
think
severely
so.
doubt it.
Ooh.
But
Although the drinking game kind of writes itself.
oh yes, in
But-
spades.
Every door open.
Yeah.
Yes. Now
Wow.
if you are going to watch it, Joe, please watch it with alcohol present. But
I'll see what I can
but
do.
listeners, drinking is bad. Wait until you're 21. But
Drinking is good. Wait until you're 21. And drive responsibly.
True. Not like Oliver Platt.
And if you do, close the door.
Too soon. Yep, close that door.
oh, this is a great episode. But
Only have
no,
one-
this I can't quite say this is the worst thing I've seen this year. But
That was going to be
man,
my
this is
question, because
bad.
you've given about 3 times as many Fs as me. I guess I can't say what's the worst yet, because we're going to do our list in a couple months, but how far down, is there a couple better than this? Is there 5 better than
probably
this?
put it as bottom 5.
Bottom 5. Okay.
Ooh,
All right, fair enough.
so bad.
Yeah, for me, it's far and away the worst. Clearly, it's an F. Justin, an F as well.
It's an F.
I assume.
Yes.
All right, well, let's stick with you and talk about Indignation.
So, Indignation, or as I like to call it, the perks of being atheist,
That's pretty good.
That's good.
focuses on Marcus Mesner, played by Logan Lerman of Perks of Being Wallflower fame, a young boy with an immense talent searching for far more than his meager life working as a kosher butcher. His journey takes him to a conservative college where his beliefs and desires, particularly in a young but very troubled woman played by Sarah Gadon, are challenged on all sides. This is very much a coming-of-age story, but at the same time, I don't think it should be judged as simply that. I think in a lot of ways, it's also an exploration of sort of deconstructing what were some of the major aspects that made up the culture in the 50s. So, and fortunately, what also helps with that is really solid performances, great costumes that bring it to life, and really a compelling story. I think in a lot of ways, this is what I wanted Atonement to be way back when, focusing on complicated, very flawed characters, regret to varying degrees, without giving spoilers, obviously.
I liked that movie.
It's all right.
Has gotten better on repeats, but I still stand by my criticisms,
We'll never atone.
for lack of a better word, without giving spoilers, but I digress. Lerman, once again, does a great job. Really brings his character to life, poses some big questions, challenging authority, focusing on sort of what made everything the way it was way back when. And in some cases, I think some of the issues brought up here are still very much prominent. Like, why do we feel the way we do about certain things? Why is everything sort of the way it is now? And alongside that comes really compelling chemistry with Gadon's character. And I think one thing that it does very, very extremely good job with is trying to really get into the heart of the characters, what drives them, and how it comes together in that regard. Really focusing on actions, what comprises these characters. Though, with that said, there are some flaws. I think the ending is a little bit rushed, and the sort of twist is kind of obvious once you see the intro. But up until that point, it's still a pretty compelling ride, and I was pretty satisfied with this one. I think it's one of the better films I saw this year.
Joe, how about for you?
It's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, would you like me to expand a little on that?
Yeah, a little
Oh,
bit.
please do, yes.
Well, I think that Justin's right. I think that it is a coming-of-age tale, at the most basic sense, on the surface at least, but it's also about exploring the self, maybe a commentary on the 50s and the relation of the self versus your surroundings and societal expectations and what you're supposed to do.
How do we define oneself, basically?
Yeah, and how do you define yourself in a society that has various definitions? You're right. It's a lot of complicated things all through the eyes of a person trying to grow up and deal with the very, very normal things. And I feel like it's definitely elevated by great costumes and some good camera work and smooth editing and great performances. And I thought these were interesting characters. But it's also a story that I've seen before, and it felt pretty standard. And I think if it wasn't for the strength of the performances and some good emotional notes that are hit well occasionally, I feel like everything was kind of underdeveloped. Like, I felt like we finally, it was a lot of build up, okay, feels this way, feels that way, okay, interesting idea here, interesting idea there, this is a good conversation, then it's almost over. And we finally get to some really gritty, meaty stuff, and then the movie's basically over. And I'm like, why couldn't the movie have had more of that? So I was a little disappointed, but I thought it was good. I thought it was solid, but it could have been much greater.
I agree with that. My biggest issue with it is that I would have liked to learn more about Lerman's character.
Thank you.
What is it that made him think about fighting authority, and why is he an atheist in this very, very kosher Jewish family? There's no context for it.
There's like some implication implied, but they never dive into any of it enough.
No, they don't.
And I feel like for a character that's supposed to be, for a movie that's supposed to have such a really strong character study, I don't really know the character as well as I could.
But I think it's both a character and a cultural study in that regard.
That's true. I mean, you've got the coming of age thing, you've got the whole religious angle thing, both interesting, but you don't spend enough time with either of them to really make it stupendous. And
I think we spend enough time with the cultural aspect of it.
Maybe.
I don't think we spend enough time with the character aspect of it. With really either him or the girl. The girl is a little bit more.
She's a mystery.
They try to play up the mystery aspect.
Yeah, she's mysterious. But I feel like maybe there's more we could have learned than the fact that she loves to give Hummers.
Look. I can understand that, and I would have liked to have known more about her. But I think what they were trying to do is show his perception of her and his idolized version of her, his feelings of her.
I didn't mind her aspect of it nearly as much as I minded.
We need to know more about him and why he feels the way he does, because it's interesting.
I mean, I don't think we needed too much, but a little bit more could have made a big difference. I do agree with that.
Yeah, no, I think definitely more. The other thing was, I have to say, I didn't think he was all that great. He was fine, but it's literally the same character from Perks, set in the 1950s. I didn't notice really any change in his persona, and that really bothered me.
But did he play it well, though?
A little bit.
No, because I didn't believe really that this character, as portrayed by him, was in the 1950s. I really didn't. And I like him a lot, but The Perks of Being an Atheist is not an unapt title for this movie, because he's playing the same. He's playing Charlie again.
He is.
Fortunately,
I like Charlie, but
I like Charlie too. But Charlie is a '90s character.
He very much is.
So that honestly wasn't my favorite.
It is kind of the same bodies in college.
I think everybody else.
There's a little bit of inflection, and the Jewish angle has felt a bit more. But
it's the same character, though. He's
but
right.
not
no.
Really. Like you look at his mother and father. They are
Yiddish.
Jewish, Yiddish.
Yes.
Everything.
On that we can agree.
And he's just there.
And he's hanging.
The whole outcast angle, yeah.
So the wallflower, you might say.
I don't know what you mean, Dan. But
Jewish wallflower.
No, I mean, look, he's certainly a little bit more anti-authority, outspoken in this movie, as Charlie probably would be by the time he got to college. So, for that, I can't give it points. But I do agree the era itself was captured very well.
Feels real.
His roommates and the guy from the Jewish fraternity and the dean of the students.
He seemed very real.
All very good characters and about as well defined as him, I thought, in some respects. So that was a little bit of a negative for me, for sure.
Wasn't expecting that.
I know you do love Lerman. I know you like Percy Jackson.
I do love Lerman, and that's the thing. I've seen him give other performances. I've seen him do Percy Jackson. He was in the when he was real young, he was in the Jack and Bobby show on the WB where he played young Jack Kennedy or Bobby Kennedy or something.
Gotcha.
So I've seen him do things that aren't Charlie. This was Charlie in the 50s. Joe, what is your grade here for Indignation?
Well, I'm not too indignant about my experience. It was pretty good. I accept it. It's a B+.
Okay, it's a B for me.
I'm digging Indignation. A-.
Okay. Well, how about Imperium, Joe?
Well, there definitely is an imperial attitude from some people.
Whatever do you mean, sir? Please continue.
Well, the basic synopsis for this is we've got Daniel Radcliffe, for some of you that may not know, Harry Potter most famously. He plays an FBI investigator who works in counterterrorism, and turns out that Toni Collette thinks that he might be good for some undercover work to try and infiltrate a group of Aryan nations to find out if there's any link to possible terrorist acts, getting closer to one particular man individual. And so he has to go undercover, and he kind of plays this bookish, reclusive guy, but he reads up and acts, and he becomes the embodiment of a skinhead. And he interacts with these people and finds out that they are pretty intense in their beliefs, but they're also people, which is the most disturbing thing about this movie, is how truly real it does feel, and the intensity of the emotions and are heightened here. And I think it might be the best performance I've ever seen Mr. Radcliffe give. It was pretty unsettling and thought-provoking, and pretty... I don't want to say it's fantastic, but it's pretty great.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the Harry Potter correlation.
And if you want to find the real beasts,
Justin does the suicide gesture. But anyways, go on.
The real beasts. Really, there's just the way that this film manages to show how deeply embedded and complicated the racial issues are, from looking at this perspective from these kind of organizations. No one, I think, has really ever looked at it quite to this level before, trying to produce them as people instead of just demonizing them one-dimensionally, which is great, but it's also more frightening, which I think it's very important that a movie like this came out, and I think Radcliffe at the helm does a great job. It really does. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was quite thrilling.
All right. I should note that this movie and the previous one are now available on DVD.
Or rent it.
And, you can rent it or on demand it. I really like this movie as well. This is my favorite movie of the week, actually. I don't know if Radcliffe gives a better performance here than Harry Potter, just because he had 8 movies to really get that character down. But he is amazing in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think he is quickly turning into just a really, really great actor that is taking on a lot of interesting roles.
Because he can. And he's actually caring about it.
He never needs to work again a day in his life. And so why not choose the projects that you're passionate about?
But he gives it his...
grain, yeah.
Horns might not have been a great movie, but it was certainly an interesting
tough role
performance for him.
And he goes, and this one in particular, he just goes all out with it, though. He goes
really does.
all out. It's like a Gyllenhaal level performance.
And the accent is great. Some of the Potter people have had issues with that in other roles. Speaking of perks, but I just think he's great. The only thing really that I can say in the negative about this movie, and then a minor one.
Okay.
The main one is I don't actually think it went far enough.
Ooh,
I would agree.
Explaining. Really the depth of these kind of groups and everything. I think it does a lot. And Joe, you're right. It's something that isn't explored that much.
Well, think about it. It's like the villains in the Green Room, but you get to know them a little bit better.
True.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
you get to know them. You're right. You get to know them a lot better than many other movies.
Maybe not American History X. But
yeah,
it's
maybe
on
not to
levels.
that degree.
Pretty close though.
And then the minor is I sort of wanted to have a little bit more interaction with him and Colette. I liked her character a lot, and I don't think they gave her really a lot to do.
Well, there's always more of her is needed.
Well, I always agree with that. But no, I really liked it. So Justin, you felt the same way though about the playing it slightly safe angle.
Just a wee bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not that safe though.
well, safe-ish. Like the idea, the general concept of this movie is incredibly ambitious, and I got to give it a lot of points for that. The execution is passable, far from great. Radcliffe gives a good performance. He's definitely growing as an actor.
Oh, it's pretty good.
It's a pretty good performance.
It's good. I would still say best Radcliffe performance probably goes to Swiss Army Man.
I didn't see that one. Joe
yet.
didn't see that. Okay,
Yeah.
that was a good one.
Though, I mean,
Farting
semantics. You can argue a lot of different movies with Radcliffe. And I mean, he definitely does commit. And I really do appreciate that. The problem is, while the concepts are there, I think it's kind of ironic that we're talking about 2 movies this week that feature communication as sort of the forefront.
Yeah.
True.
Is I think it does play it safe at times. I think sometimes it doesn't go nearly far enough with the whole tension aspect. I think it tries to focus way too much on the drama and not enough on the actual suspense of the whole ordeal, which really cuts some of the major scenes that could have used them the overall impact of those scenes significantly, and leads to, I would argue, by far one of the most heavy-handed conclusions of 2016. Beyond preachy, like to the point that I debated giving it a negative grade because of the conclusion.
Wow.
Well, I think if you're allowed to be preachy in a movie, I think this one might be one of the few exceptions.
It's like, we freaking get it. You've been illustrating this the entire movie. Why do you have to take 2 minutes out of your busy schedule to explain the takeaway from this movie? That's
Drive
just
home the
lazy
point?
writing.
I don't know if that's true, though, because as Joe said, the thing that this movie does very well is sort of walks that line between, yes, these are horrible, horrible people in theory,
But
they are still actually people that sort of maybe are not horrible, but they are horrible. It's like, I think this movie walks a pretty
I think
good
there's
line.
hope. Is
No.
Yeah.
I think it does a balanced job in terms of depiction. I think the message it's trying to send at the end is ridiculous and redundant.
Okay.
All right. I think it's more of a nitpick, though, personally.
More Colette, though.
Please.
Definitely more Colette. I think they don't go nearly far enough with her character.
I mean, it wasn't her story, but I did like the character.
But I mean, they're trying to give us this like conflicted character, and they just sort of beat around the bush with her entire character arc.
Okay.
Like I kept waiting for like, okay, where are we going with her? Where's this heading? How is she taking this? We get like little snippets instead of actual like meat.
Okay.
And I think that really kills it.
So you think this movie was lacking a little bit of protein?
Just a wee bit, yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, Joe, what would your grade be for Imperium?
Well, I think that it was a very filling grade. Leave with an A. I thought it was awesome.
It's an A- for me. I really liked it.
B-.
Okay. Yeah, just above. So if that was a little more heavy-handed at the end, it would have been even lower. That was probably the biggest complaint.
I
right?
probably spent like a day or two debating whether or not to give this a C+ because of the ending.
Well, a lot of conflict.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, that is the show. So definitely some interesting movies to check out or maybe avoid. Or if you're Joe, you got to see Shot.
Now I will. Now I might.
Yeah.
Listeners, please avoid it like the plague.
Well,
but
but seriously, Justin, when you hear worst movie of
I gotta
the
find
year,
out.
it's like,
Now I'm obligated.
that is intriguing.
It is.
Like, if you give a movie like a D or D+, it's like, okay, well, that sounds
gee,
like I'm not
how
gonna
bad
go.
is it? But yeah.
like,
But you
I'll
guys are
pass.
both like, this is really bad. You know, I might.
It's terrible. It's bad. All right, so next week, speaking of Fantastic Beasts, we just brought that up in the...
Several times.
Yeah, a couple times. We'll be doing that on next week's
Go see
show,
it.
in addition to some of the other new films out there. You can check us out on the Facebook group at Film Fanatics with an exclamation point, the Twitter feed at Film Fanatics Pod, and, of course, our YouTube channel here. You can subscribe to that, or head on over to Joe's Merlin channel on YouTube and subscribe to that as well. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you back here next time.